Good afternoon. I call to order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, October 18th, 2020, 1:30 p.m. We're conducting this meeting in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. I thank everyone for silencing your phones. Commissioner Allen will lead us in a prayer, and then I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please stand.
Our God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together to deal with things that come before us, and we ask you to give us all wisdom and judgment that we might do that which will be proper and righteous in your sight. We ask this in the name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Ms. Keisha, would you do the roll call, please?
Okay, we have Chase Chisholm here. Commissioner Brown is absent. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Mayor LaPaz. Commissioner Walden. Here. Commissioner Millender.
Here.
All right, very good, thank you. And let the record show we have our city clerk, Keisha Messer, and our city administrator, Courtney Dipsey, and our attorney and our engineer of record. All right, the next thing on the agenda is the approval of the September 20, 2022 CRA regular meeting minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to read that document? Do we have questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, and that motion is by Commissioner Allen, second by Ms. Chase Chisholm. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, next up is public comment. This is a section of the meeting where anyone can speak about an item relating to the CRA district that is not on our agenda today. And we have Mr. Greg Christopherson, Mr. Ray Messer, and Mr. Tom Magnan in the audience with us. Is there any public comment? Okay, there's no public comment, so we'll move to staff reports. And Ms. Courtney Dipsey, our CRA Director.
All of our facade grants from last year have been closed out. So we had the 304 Highway 98 and 305 Northwest 12th Street. Those have all been completed. Can start applying for our new year, so anybody knows anyone who wants a facade grant needs to turn in an application. On the redesign of the Duke Energy Communications, I still haven't heard anything back from Duke Energy. I know last month we reported that they've been out and flagged some of the poles, but I can't tell that anything's been done down there.
Maybe slow them down with everything going on south there.
Yeah, I was giving them a little time there. We need to do some maintenance at Sands Park Pond. The pond is overgrown. It looks like the dirt seems to be coming back up to the top. I know some of y'all went out and looked at it. The fountains don't work. Dustin did talk to a guy that's what he does, is pond work, and he sent in some quotes. It's kind of expensive. It'd be about $25,000 to do all of the work. So we're not making any decisions right now. I just want to let y'all know that that's something that we will be looking into. We had some money in the budget. I think we had $25,000 under maintenance and repair, and there was another $25,000. But this would be about half of the money that we've budgeted for the whole year. And I really don't want to try to spend all that, this early in the year, because we're just into the first month. So we'll be looking more into what, maybe splitting it up in phases or doing parts of it, or maybe asking for a second opinion even. The owner of the White Kitchen, Mr. Alan Russell, he's requested to be on the special meeting for the City Commission to ask for requests to construct an awning using an 8x8 post anchored to the city and the public sidewalk. He had come before you guys a couple of months back wanting a facade grant. We told him he had to get permission from the City Commission, so he is still asking for that. And he'll be on our meeting Thursday night, and then he'll come back before us for a facade grant in November.
Good question.
Sure.
Seemed like some time ago, there was a discussion of the pond and that there were certain fish that would eat.
They do have fish that eat the grass. They have carp that eat the grass.
We don't have them now.
We don't have any.
Do we need to get some?
I don't know. I need to get someone who has a professional who knows more about it than I do. I don't know any.
I've read
But it has
about
been
it.
suggested.
I think I'm saying it right, triploid carp, grass-eating carp. But we would need somebody to advise us on that. It might work, I mean, it's something, you know, we could try. They get pretty big, and in a pond like that, you probably wouldn't need but 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, it was suggested, Mr. Melander had suggested that, and we just need to find somebody who knows a little bit more about them and that can give us, you know, their opinion on
If they eat those daylilies, there's only certain things
that they eat. So they may eat the grass, but they might not, the lilies are covering the whole pond.
Courtney, I believe I would try FWC biologist. That would be free. Information and professional guidance from them. They do have staff on board that's their cup of tea, so to speak. And that'd be free guidance, and let's see what kind of information we get from them. And since you and I talked, I have talked with 2 other pond owners and have heard rumor that for some reason this year, ponds have grassed over, unexplainable, that they've never had happen before.
I went by yesterday, you can see the ducks walking around. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, you see their feet, they're completely out of the water.
And I talked with one that has consulted with someone like Dustin had consulted with, and they're spraying the pond to kill that.
That was his
Grass.
suggestion, was to spray it. They'd spray it, they'd leave it 13 weeks.
Yep.
It was right at $15,000 just to do the removal of the vegetation.
Anyway, I know we're getting into details now, and that's not what you plan to do at this meeting, but that's just some food for thought, so to speak.
I will check with FWC.
Yeah, do that first.
Well, we need to look into that. It's too pretty a place to mess up.
I have a feeling that might be why the fountains aren't working. That it's so mucky that maybe it's burning up the motors, because we replaced one of the motors and it's still throwing the breaker. Every time we turn it on, it's throwing the breaker.
But you may as well have the FWC look at the Evergreen Cemetery pond too, because it's on its way.
We do both. And then my last thing is, I was just gonna report, it wasn't on my list, but we were at conference last week, and one of the sessions that I attended was on special events and marketing. And so, you know, in the budget, we budget for fireworks. We give money to some of the organizations like the Riverfront Festival and the Chamber for Holiday on the Harbor. And what I'm getting out of this class is that we should not be giving that money to just for anything. That it's only for purposes that are laid out in the statute, that are specifically laid out. And that you have ways that you can do money for special events. Say that you had a ribbon cutting, if we had finished the Marine Street project and we wanted to have a ribbon cutting and have a band and have refreshments, the CRA could pay for something like that. It ties directly back to the CRA and the CRA project. But just to give money every year for fireworks or for a festival that's going on, I do not think is going to be allowed. And I've discussed this with Dan, and he's going to look into it. There was an Attorney General's opinion, 2010-40. Dan looked into that a little bit yesterday. But one thing they say, it's got to be temporary. If it's something that we're doing every year annually, that's not temporary, and that we shouldn't be doing that. It has to be tied to the plan, and it has to be in your budget, and these things are, but it has to be in that statute, specifically listed in that statute. And nowhere in that statute does it talk about festivals or fireworks. So we'll have Dan look more into that, and he may have.
It's 163.370 and 163.387. And I reviewed it. I haven't read it word for word. It's a few pages. But what I understand is that they changed that, they made major changes in 2019 because they were, back in 17, the legislature was trying to shut down all CRAs. And the Redevelopment Association with Ms. Westmoreland worked very hard and lobbied, and what came out of it was a lot of changes in 2019. And that included those two statutes listing explicitly what can be done. And I believe a couple of 3 years ago, we asked you about fireworks, and you wrote to Ms. Westmoreland, and she said that it had to be a CRA district event, something like that you reported back.
Yes, and obviously time potentially has gotten away from us, meaning the amendments were probably passed in 19, went into effect. You can look at in the operative law where they went, July 30 of that year or the following year. However, I looked into this, Courtney and I talked about it. I would say it's still, because the CRAs really try to thread the needle and do these events. We have, right, on some of our things historically. But there is some, and I don't know how this AG's opinion, I feel like, it's right on point up for one purpose, which is the use of CRA funds cannot be for the promotion, they can't be used as grants. They cannot grant money to entities to promote tourism and economic development. That includes not-for-profits for socially beneficial programs. That's outside the scope of the act, period. So it sort of goes back to what Ms. Westmoreland had talked about, but we have to be very careful in doing any of this, and I know we've talked about this before, that when in doubt, we really shouldn't do it. Right? If it's in a gray area, we should just kind of, I had talked to Courtney about this, is that she mentioned the Holiday on the Harbor fireworks, and I think the fishing tournament that we contribute money to. But for instance, the fishing tournament, I would say the CRA really we shouldn't do that.
And I just pulled out the list. We do the youth fishing tournament, the Carrabelle Crawl, which is a nonprofit event, the Riverfront Festival, which is also a nonprofit event, and then we've had a brand new request this year from the Chamber to do their Small Business Saturday to help them promote that. And they use this money, I don't know, to pay for bands or
we
advertise.
Based on research and then what Courtney's talking about, we should not be giving money to these entities, right? If the CRA, I think it's a gray area if it's a CRA event, like a CRA fully funded CRA event, that's one thing. But giving money to other entities to put on events is not something we need to do.
Okay, that's something that the Tourist Development Council does. And it's well within statute. And they give money to all these events now, except for the Sea Quarters Youth Fishing Tournament.
We could pay for innovative policing at these events, that's allowed. It just really has to tie back into giving information out on the CRA and what the CRA does, and whether you have a booth down there, but it has to tie back to the CRA, where these events aren't really, we're just giving them money for these events.
And the Holiday on the Harbor, after you wrote to Ms. Westmoreland, I asked them to please, for the fireworks, to please put the CRA on there and let people know that the CRA is funding the fireworks, and they put the Holiday on the Harbor as that we're partnering with them or something, but still that's not sufficient. In fact, one fellow I talked to who attended with Courtney, I wish I had gone to that one, he said in front of Courtney and Chase that CRAs absolutely cannot fund fireworks. He was the project manager for the Del Rey CRA. He said that is not, so the gentleman, or was it a lady attorney?
It was a lady attorney from, I think, Pompano Beach.
That you could contact her, we have her information and see what she thinks as well. if you
And
want.
I remember we've gotten, and we've wrestled with this for a long time. We've contacted City of Tallahassee where they put on those events at the amphitheater and all these different things. But in talking with Courtney, it looks like our list is pretty small, meaning it was $10,000 or so. Is that about right?
Yes, $10,000 to be exact.
Okay, so.
2,500 to the promotions and 75 to the fireworks.
And so my recommendation, just to be safe, I don't mind talking to these other folks, but if we can, there's absolutely things the CRA can do. I'm going to call it even during those events, such as the policing, which probably would include, controlling the streets and the block barricades and different things. I know that's not a big piece, but the CRA can do certain things. It just can't give money to other entities to put on events. Like, it's just safe to just.
Do you think the CRA could fund when we pay, I don't know if they're paid overtime or what, when they work on, like the Riverfront Festival, all day long, from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. We fund the police officers out there. And the same thing for the fireworks, but we won't have fireworks anymore, but the festivals we do. So do you think the CRA could fund that, their salaries, if we
I do.
give a time card?
The statute does allow in 387, I believe, to cover some administrative and overhead expenses, which either that or innovative, we call it innovative policing. I don't know how innovative that is, but if we could make it fall under the category of innovative policing or simply administrative and overhead expenses for the CRA, which it certainly would be that. So I think it could.
I think one of the things that we're gonna try to look into also is to see if there's anything that we're funding in a general fund budget that could be funded from the CRA. So maybe we can flip-flop some of the things around. If we could fund the fireworks out of the general fund, but find something in the general fund that can be funded out of the CRA and kind of even it out. But we're gonna have to look into that.
In fact, I had a question about the $12,000 that the general fund gives to the food pantry. We did have a keynote speaker who spoke on food deserts and providing food in CRA districts. So it made me wonder, can the CRA assist with something like that, helping to provide food in the district? But of course, now the pantry is located in the district, but people come from all over Eastern Franklin County for that.
The recipients aren't tied strictly to the district.
I think we'll just have to look at the statute and see what we can come up with.
So, Mr. Hartman, do you believe that we should notify these nonprofits?
Yes, I would let them know that we are not, even though I know we've done the public budget process, but they need to know we're not going to be able to provide them money for
Move
these
forward.
events. Yep.
Fireworks also, because we need to book that for.
Yeah, I mean, it does not stop, and I know we just went through budget, right? But that does not stop the city from picking up the loose ends here. But the CRA we should not do it. I think could put us in jeopardy.
The only thing that would stop the general fund is money.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's obvious that we can spend out of the general fund, I would think, but having the funds to do it
Yeah,
is another question.
Another $10,000.
Exactly.
So, and then it could, end up being the same thing if we've been doing this for a handful of years. And if it's discovered, what would have to happen would be that the general fund would have to pay these monies back to the CRA over whatever was accumulated over the years. Any comments, Ms. Keisha, on it, or what are you thinking? It's just having to let these nonprofits know, it's going to be kind of they're not going to understand. All right, are there any other questions right now on this?
That's all I have for my report.
Thought y'all would come back with some good stuff.
Now, you always get scared when you go to those
They always-
places.
Yeah,
Because the laws
exactly,
are constantly changing, you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah, community innovative policing. That is something that is written up all over the statute and something that they promote for CRAs. And number one, like we've always said, removal of slum and blight. And just doing enhancement of every project that we have, our parks and facilities and streets and roads, and going above and beyond what the city can do on its own.
And if it's not in the plan, you can't do it.
That's correct.
Now, y'all taking everything I was gonna do my big speech about at the end now. Y'all better slow down a little bit.
All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna try to impress you now. Well, I was just gonna, I was gonna wait until the end, but I can go ahead and tell you what I got and try to read my notes. It was a great conference. I enjoyed it so much. The bike week thing, I wasn't too happy about, because I was kind of stuck in my room, fear of going out, but no, it was all good. But anyway,
It was Biketoberfest, Dan.
yes.
30th and
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they were everywhere. Ooh, but anyway, one of the things on the lectures that we talked about is how we could use our funds and should try to find ways to use our funds to grow those funds to coming back. And kind of an example that I kind of thought of was how we've talked about turning the water plant into a conference center, and if we focused on ways that we could use it to grow money to not only pay for the upkeep of the building and so have you, but to give more money to come back into the funds to do more projects with. So, I think the whole community plant, trying to come up with something on it, where people can pay to do their weddings, their family reunions, party conferences and stuff like that, I think would be a great way to add money. In fact, one of the CRA places actually took and bought land and put a hotel. They built a hotel, sold the hotel off, and like 10 times the money back to put back into the CRA. And I know we can't do that, something that great and that big. In fact, it was a Hilton motel, of all. But I thought, that is something that I didn't know about. Being new on the board, there's a lot of questions that I have. And I have people come to me now all the time, and they're like, blah, 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 and beating me up. And I'm like, whoa, 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 I'm new, I don't know a lot of stuff, but I'll try to find out what I can. And so going to this conference, I learned a lot of stuff, and some of the stuff y'all have already touched on, so I'm not going to kind of go back over some of that. But they definitely stressed really hard on our CRA plans that, we have to be careful on our wordings on our plan. A big thing that we really need to add, and they said everywhere, put the word may use, or may. May is a big word, because if you don't have it on that plan, it's going to come back and bite us later. If we put, oh, well, we're going to use this money for this project, and we decide later we're not going to use it for that project, if we didn't have may on there, that can come back and hurt us. So it's just little things like that that, I wasn't aware of. And in fact, I need to read the plan. They say the plan is huge and a lot of stuff, but, we have to make sure we stay up to date on that plan too. A lot of CRAs are finding hasn't even updated their plans in 8 years. You've got to keep up with that plan, because like a lot of the stuff we do is spread it out. We're not just, oh, well, we're going to go do this year. We've got projects that's going to take years to get done. But you still got to put those, read your plans and make sure you're staying on track and you haven't changed off of what's in that plan, because it can cause a lot of issues. But they said use the word may. That way you can take, if you decide not to do it, you can take it back out and not use that money, put it somewhere else, or go ahead with the money. So I thought that was a very interesting point. As far as the community policing, the CRA money, I found out, can be used for community policing, and they're telling you, if there is a need, you should use it for community policing, depending on, what the need is. If, I know before I came on, and I hear this all the time, this has been one of my biggest things that's aggravated me when I first came on here, is people right before I came on, y'all had an issue about needing a community police officer. I don't know all the details of what y'all had talked about or what his duties would be. I feel like if there was a money funded for a community police officer, yes, he should have certain duties he can't do, blah, 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 you know, it'd be all spread out. But I was misled somehow, somewhere, that you cannot use money for that, and that is not true. Now, they said that you can use money for that because why? That is a service of helping the community, and that's what this money is for, is to help the community. It's not just to make everything in our CRA district look pretty and clean and stuff like that. It's to help the community. And if we have a need for an officer, we've got, and I didn't know either, we only have one officer on duty, you know, per shift here for the city. I didn't know that till recently. You know, so, and I don't think a lot of people out there, and I'm saying this with those people watching who don't know that we, you know, that's what it is, and we need, you know, if we need that, then that's something I think that, you know, I don't know if we can look back into it now, but the fact that that money can be used for that, because I told people, and I'll say it, that the money was not supposed to be used for that, and that's why it didn't happen. Well, now I know I was misinformed, and now I know too. It's important to go to these conventions and stuff so that you learn when the laws have been changed and when stuff is not the way it used to be. Just like we were talking about in 2019, they've changed a lot of stuff, and I think that everybody who can, when they have these classes, they have these conferences, it's important to stay up on it, because I hate to be a person up here sitting and taking a vote on something that I don't know fully what the answer is. And y'all know now I am long-winded sometimes. Usually I'm quiet, but this thing taught me so much, and I was so glad to be a part of it, you know. And one of my favorite parts, there's two, but one of my favorite parts, it had to do with the community. And you can use the CRA money for different stuff. One of the things that one gentleman had talked about is his biggest and proudest moment of what they had done in his CRA was something that was so simple. As simple as buying an air conditioner for a family who had no air. And you know, down here in Florida, we get hot down here in Florida, and they took money and bought a family, for families who needed air conditions, bought them little air conditioning units. So when they had to come up here to Tallahassee, and they was like, what would you use your money for? That was the biggest thing that everybody was in awe about. They're like, oh my gosh, we never thought about that. Oh, you know, and it's like how simple of an act and simple, small amount of money to make such a major impact on our community. And I just said, I never thought of the CRA. You know, personally, I always thought, well, it was just to do the CRA district, make it nice, pretty, blah, blah, blah. You know, because we've done so much, or you guys, not me, because I'm new, but have done so much beautiful stuff that y'all been creating in your artworks, in your pavilions, and the, you know, fishing place that everybody loves, the cleaning the fish. You know, but I never thought of using, that was part of what this money can be used for, is something so simple that makes a major impact. Just saying. One of the places also did a hurricane pail giveaway, where they made sure they had on stock these pails that had everything. When a hurricane comes, you gotta have your crap ready before they even say one's coming. They have a stockhold of pails that has hurricane impact stuff, flashlights, simple stuff. You know, it's not even major stuff. So when they knew one was coming, they had them to give out, and they still do that, to give to the families, because you can't go around trying to get all your stuff when one's coming, because pretty much it's going to be balled up. So, but anyway, just simple stuff. You know, there's so many different things that I learned. And so, you know, I feel really great. Now, my favorite part was the restoration of the seahorse. There's one of the CR towns took, and they're like, you know, our town doesn't really have anything that when people say Apalachicola, they think what? Oysters. You know, it's a branding. This town had no branding. Well, they had this giant 32-foot seahorse that back in the day, in the 40s and 50s, that stood in the middle of the town. People were known for that seahorse. Well, of course, through the years, the restaurant got sold, the seahorse got taken down. Well, they said, you know what, we need a branding so people, when they think the town in Florida that's known for seahorse, that'd be us. And they reconstructed this giant 32-foot seahorse. And I was just like, that is so awesome, because people relate to branding. And so I questioned Sabrina and Courtney, and I think I think you come to the table, and this was during our break when we finally got time to get some food in us. you know, what our branding was. Did we have a branding that was really for Carrabelle? I know we have the hooked in Carrabelle. I know we have the shrimp boats and stuff like that. But they talked about when you're looking and trying to come up with a branding, think of what a need to try to get, what is your town? Us, to me, I consider us a fishing town and a tourist town. The money that we get coming in this town is coming from what? Those two main things, tourists and fishing people. So if we had a branding for that, you know, we are known for our redfish here, we're known for our grouper here. Somebody, not gonna say since she's not here to defend herself, was talking about the mullet. Well, you know, people that's got a lot of money, you say mullet, they're going to think haircut mullet. They're not going to be thinking about the fish. So, but I was thinking that might be something that I'd like for us to talk about. Maybe we should have a type of branding to help to classify us as having a brand, you know? And so, now that's all I'm going to say. Thank y'all for listening to me.
She's fired up.
Yes, I loved it. I'll tell you.
I missed
The police station, you know, that's something, you know. But, you know, I was thinking, you know, being the fishing, you know, the fish stations, the police station, the smallest police station is great too. But, you know, to try to help to get the money coming more into the town, because that's what we're needing, you know, is to try to build on our CRA money, build on the town, build on the community. You know, and those fishing people now, they don't mind spending no money on fishing. Like my husband, he loves some hunting now and then. And I don't even talk about our dog food bill. You know, and he'll spend that money on guns and dog food, and I tell you, them dogs eat better than we do. But the fishermen are the same way, and they'll bring that money, and you know, that might be something we might want to think about, branding that and putting that on our website. You know, hey, we're known for this, you know, come down, da-da-da. But anyway, that's something, a subject that I would like to maybe later talk about and see if that's something y'all approve of.
All right, well, come back at us with some ideas. That was a comprehensive report.
Good report.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. You're enthusiastic. She's been quiet since you've been appointed to the
Yes,
board,
I
so
am.
she just made up for all that quiet time. I do appreciate it, and it was good. And you reminded me of one important item when we get to Mr. Hartman's report. I will bring that up. And the air conditioning, I didn't go to that class. It must have been they had this in some type of a grant program and it was included in their plan or something. Because the CRA can do stuff
Right.
like that. Okay, so that was very good, and thank you. All right. Where do we go now?
I told you I should have waited till, I was waiting till the end.
Okay.
Y'all can thank Tony for that one over there. He wanted it.
Did, you got it, girl.
It's wonderful. I'm glad you're so enthused. I'm glad you enjoyed the conference. I did as well. They're always very informative.
They are.
Now, on the other hand, I enjoyed Bike Week.
Well,
Or
I did.
whatever it was.
I didn't have no bike, so.
We didn't either.
And I didn't want to walk.
Okay, so Mr. Hartman, your report.
Yes, so what we've done is circulated this update and basically amendment to the Community Redevelopment Plan. The highlights are, and Mayor Commissioner provided some excellent comments. Some of it's clerical. The other is, what we'll do is we will try to include just kind of a more comprehensive legal description. We have a map attached that shows the expanded area. We've emphasized and expanded it to include stormwater improvements, particularly in the expanded area. And then one of the primary purposes was to add language in on the old water plant and the cemetery, so the CRA can, where applicable there, be able to assist in developing those sites and improving them. And the mayor provided a lot of help on providing more a list of projects funded, completed, or currently under construction. So I also heard, I like that may language, although we're not, we don't put dollar figures in our plan right now, but I think, and maybe on budgeting, that may be a thing to do, where in our, when we talk about it, doing may.
Well, they did talk about, and I said in that class, that
That's
if you use the word shall in your plan, that the CRA shall
just tied your
do
hands.
branding,
Yeah.
or shall construct a pole barn, then, you
Yeah.
know, one of these days you better shall do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, shall and may are big deals in lawyer
Yes.
world.
And so, if there's anywhere where we have shall in there, maybe we should take a look at that and see if may can be
We'll do that.
substituted.
Yep.
You shall do affordable housing. And a lot, most all those CRAs are working with affordable housing some way or another.
All right.
Constructing lobbies for hotels or crazy stuff
What
that
I
we
would-
can't look at.
What I would ask, and certainly it's up to the board, I would ask is everyone to look at the hard copy that they have of this amended thing, see if it, amended plan, see if it sparks any additional ideas, new ideas, and then get those to me, and we'll have ourselves, I think, an amended final plan over this next couple weeks, would be the goal.
Okay, all right. Maybe for November, we could vote on it, maybe.
Yeah, so I think we could vote on it in November, but please take a look at it and get me anything additional.
Is that then referred, does that have to go through a public hearing process?
Yes.
Okay, so, but that goes on the commission side,
That'll
once
go on
we
the commission
refer it
side,
to the
yep.
commission, okay.
Yeah, so the CRA, I know we've done this before, so let me look at the process, or I've laid it out before, but I believe it's, CRA says, hey, you know, this is, meaning we work it up, we send it to the commission, so the commission gets it, votes on it, and I think we're going to be going through that process of providing public notice to everyone on our updated plan, sending them a copy of it. So I'll lay that out for Courtney, Keisha, and certainly the board and the commission.
Okay. Now, one of the items that I put in there that we could do was construct a pole barn, and I put to disseminate, construct a pole barn that could be used as a point of distribution for dissemination of emergency supplies like after a disaster. Okay, now, and I did hear that too, where the CRA in hurricane preparedness gave away the prepared hurricane bucket. Can we do that? I mean, I know the CRA could construct a pole barn, but could we use it for dissemination of emergency supplies? Or should we take that out of there, that wording?
Right, I would say we would not want to build it specifically for the dissemination of emergency supplies. To me,
Okay.
it would be like Messer Pavilion, where in an emergency, we'd say,
It would be
hey,
used.
yeah, we can use it for that. I think in a pinch, we can always use it, but we probably shouldn't build it for a citywide disaster response.
Okay.
Even though it could be used for that.
Have to think of what we could use it for, otherwise.
I mean, I know we just talked about events, but I mean, a CRA sponsored, you know what, one thing that was surprising to me, this is just a thing, was farmer's market. Something that the CRA could promote to, again, draw people down to the businesses and everything, but a pole barn or something to get people out of the elements, keep the sun or bad weather off of them, and have, you know, mark it off where people have their little area and can sell something, vendors.
Yeah, I think that would be good too. Because I know a lot of people are wanting, because you know everybody's needing money now because inflation's gotten crazy. And a lot of people tell me all the time, you know, or ask me, now that I got the new place, the new store, can I come set up a yard sale right there beside you, you know, because I can't where I'm at, you know, because of being in a bad location or bad whatever. So something like that probably, you know, would go along with that, because that would help, you know, the community, give them a place to come and set their stuff up at.
And we could definitely charge per, I'm gonna call it stall, but per area, and that would generate revenue to the CRA. What got me just thinking about that was I had heard about one that has gone through ups and downs, but apparently was very large over on the other end of the county, but in Apalachicola, before COVID, I don't know why some of those people wouldn't come over here and sell their produce. You know, it's not far. So, plus we have our own folks that grow produce. So that was interesting. And nowadays, probably more than ever, things like that might be, you know, I think in Lanark, the lady with eggs and things like that. So it's cheaper than the grocery store.
Better.
So, and better, yeah.
Better.
But I had thought something like this could be done over on the land that the school board has deeded to the city. You know, you could, it doesn't, I don't know, we're not gonna have conventional cemetery there. There is, I have not looked at it or measured it specifically, but I know there is a concrete slab there. You know, you might be able to reuse that and construct a pole barn over that area. It's right on a busy street. And that wouldn't be a building that would be necessarily permanent. It could be dismantled if in the future the city wanted to use that area for a bigger, you know, I've talked about using that for a bigger city hall and putting a complex with the fire department, post office, and city hall there on that main corner. But meanwhile, we could use it for something else till that time.
Absolutely, that's a good idea.
Comments, anyone? Okay, all right, well, we'll move forward to Mr. Ray Messer's report, our district landscape and maintenance upkeep.
Hey, y'all. I've been working on Veterans Park, Veterans Day, trying to get it right, you know, because it's coming. And the purple mully plants that me and Courtney talked about, right now is not a good time to dig them up. In fact, I mean, we'd just be wasting them. I really didn't because they bloom, and so I haven't done that. And with that being said, I want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to work with y'all. I really appreciate it. And, you know, there's no hard feelings. I think y'all doing you know, you're doing a business. It's a business, and y'all doing whatever. And, you know, I'll stay on as long as I can, or as long as y'all need me to y'all get somebody.
All right, well, very good.
And I wish y'all the best. You know, anything I can do afterwards, just give me a holler, you know.
Well, I'm thinking we're gonna see you for a couple of 3 more months at least, while we
Yeah, but I mean,
make the
after that,
transition, yeah.
If y'all need anything, you know, that I can help with.
Okay, a special project, for sure.
Just thank you for your support, Ray, and your past and your present and your continued support.
And I hope I leave it, when I leave it, better than I found. That's all I really want to do.
Okay.
And I know I've done something.
All right, well,
All right.
very good. All right, well, thank you, and thank you for spending time with us here today.
And red snapper would be perfect if we had a red snapper tournament.
Yeah.
First of the season, a lot of people would generate money.
And I think the CRA could put on a red snapper tournament, if we had a place to do it.
Kingfish, nobody really does that, but a red snapper,
Yeah.
first of snapper season, you got everybody wanting to snap a fish.
And they, yeah, they
Makes
got
money.
money. It's money.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have no new business and no old business, so we'll move finally to Innovia Consulting Group projects, and today we have Quade Van Huss with us. He's substituting for Russell Large.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to meet y'all if I haven't. I'll just touch on each of these briefly, and if y'all have any questions, let me know. Looking at Marine Street, we got in touch with Fox this morning, and they let us know the environmental review and the request for release funds are going to be sent to DEO this week. They had to allow for some additional public comment time on the concurrent notice, and DEO's been running behind on reviews due to being short-staffed. So once DEO reviews, they'll ask for additional information, and they're hoping by the end of November to receive the authority to use grant funds from DEO, if not sooner.
Okay, and then I just wanted to attempt to explain this to Ms. Chase, that this came about before you came up forward. This project mainly is funded by a community development block grant from the Department of Economic Opportunity, and it's a $650,000 grant. And there's several projects that we're gonna, I won't get into that we're gonna do along Marine Street for commercial revitalization. And the city, in our budget, we have put some money aside. We put $75,000 aside for this next fiscal year coming up in the event that we need to. We're going to use that and leverage that with this grant and supplement this grant. And maybe we don't have enough money, there's not enough money to complete all the street lights or to complete reconstruction of the boardwalk or something like that. And we may have to end up even putting more money with inflation. We don't know what's gonna happen. And out of that comes our grant writers' fees and our engineers' fees as well.
So this is because I've asked about this before. This is the big plan doing on Marine Street that everybody's gonna talk about. Do y'all have something that I can see so I can see so I'll know what y'all are talking about when y'all go talking about? Do y'all have a plan wrote up or something? I know y'all gonna do lights and I think the sidewalk, but other than that,
We have nothing written up at this time, formal, do we, except for the application to the CDBG.
I probably
folks.
have something that lists out what each thing is.
what y'all are planning on.
But we don't have drawings yet or
No, I understand.
anything. Okay.
Because there was a lot of things discussed on there, the fencing along the seawall repairs, sidewalks, street lighting, there was a lot.
Rebuild that boardwalk.
Well, if
That's
there's
right.
just, if you can just give me send me a list or something, so I can just go over it, because I know we've talked about doing the fencing and stuff, but because that was prior to me coming in, I'm having, which fencing, so I ran out there and I looked and I'm like, oh, is this what they're talking, blah, 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 and so, I'm just trying to stay up, I'll make sure they right.
Okay. But
Thank you.
CRAs do apply for grants and leverage their monies with the, to try to make their monies go further.
Right.
So, okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So there's no changes now, we're just waiting for the DEO to release the funds?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can start, okay.
Our Fifth Street D paving project, the additional projects we have with there, those paving projects are complete. I noticed
Okay.
that Tallahassee and the library were striped, that's been completed. And we did receive a pay request from Florida Asphalt last week. I reviewed that this morning, and Russell's gonna sign that and send that over sometime later today or tomorrow. We can get to it. So I think that one's wrapping up.
All right, we'll remove that from the agenda.
Okay, the military service flag poles at Veterans Park. Spoke to Mr. Russell this morning, he said we have a contractor lined up, but he is delayed on a job in Lynn Haven. He's got some utility conflicts, so he said it'd probably be about 30 to 45 days. So slightly late on that. That's really an update there. Gray Avenue, the sanitary issues, we got a proposal from EGS last week. They did send us a proposal over. They priced it at $6,500 per location for 4 locations where we identified issues for $26,000. They did give us a discount slightly. They are proposing a geotechnical radar location, so we're gonna do shoot radar at each of the places and find out what the exact issue is at each spot, whether it's erosion from piping, there's any vacant areas, and they put together a plan for us to mitigate each location. So the plan to mitigate will most likely involve pressure grouting, where they'll go and they'll stick like a 2-inch steel tube into where the issues are, and they'll pump high pressure grout into there to raise up those areas where we're seeing the sinking. I think that'll cover it there.
So just the testing work's 26,000?
Yes, I believe so.
Layman words, testing work, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be that much for the investigations at the areas, and then they put together a plan for us to.
And then from there, you could give us a better scope of work on about how much it would cost for the repairs.
Yes, ma'am.
I would suggest that we put this off just a little bit, a few months, till we can see how our budget goes. Courtney, I'm thinking that this is another large amount of money for maintenance, 26. Maybe we should, I think we should put it off for just maybe through the first of the year to see how our funding is going. Under the next item, I'm going to report how much we carried forward. So more than we expected, but not that much. Let's see how our budget is in January, February, and whether or not we can move forward on these repairs here. Or go ahead and, if there's money, we can go ahead and get the research done on it and plan it in the next budget. Let them develop a scope of work and plan it in the next budget.
I agree to go ahead, let's go ahead and get our feet wet
Okay.
and, for a couple of months, and let's see where we're at, because we didn't budget for that to begin with, and all that, work that he's proposing at $26,000, just to tell you, now all that's gonna do is tell us what we've got to spend to repair it. So,
But I think we have to have it done though.
well, I think we do too, but I don't know that we have a big chunk of money to throw right now.
Yeah,
so-
we'll wait and see if we do in a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Mr.
Yeah,
Quaid?
yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Okay. All right, do y'all have any further questions for Mr. Quaid? Okay, then we'll move on to the CRA Board projects, and thank you for your presentation, and thank you for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
We appreciate it. The item 1 is discussion and possible action regarding the CRA 2022-2023 expense to budget, and we did not receive a year-to-date report for this past month. Well, we're not even a full month into October. But I did want to report to you that I do know that we carried forward into October, balance of $422,218.82. And we estimated that our balance forward would be $221,933. Well, the big difference there is that we thought that the paving projects would be completed before the end of the year and they would be paid. So we're anxiously awaiting what those paving projects, the total amount finally comes, because there was some price changing.
I have that.
You have that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And I believe Russell said they came in lower than.
But they added
They did.
7,000 on one of them. Okay, let me see. Were you gonna tell us that?
Yes, ma'am. So the
Okay.
one we approved this morning, total came to $141,141.
141,000?
That is the total contract sum today. It says current payment due, $127,000.
Oh, 127, because we paid some maybe already? I can't remember.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so I'll just say 130. I don't know if that includes the county's
We
portion.
paid for the one up to Mr.
Yeah, we
Jackson.
paid for that
Jackson's.
already.
Yeah,
Um,
23,000.
And I don't know if that includes, we'll have to look at the bills, invoices. Did they separate out the library? It was like a $4,000 library.
They did, yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. All right. So that's not as high as I thought it would be. So we'll see what we have here in a couple of months.
They had a retainage as well of $14,000 for completion after that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So I have then something that I'm always reminded of when I go to these conferences and these training courses, is about our redevelopment trust fund. And you all know I've said this to you before, and on a money carried forward. And it's Florida Statute 163.387 A, B, C, and D, the redevelopment trust fund. And it's on the last day of the fiscal year of the Community Redevelopment Agency. Any money which remains in the trust fund after the payment of expenses pursuant to subsection 6 for such year shall be returned to each taxing authority which paid the increment in the proportion that the amount of the payment of such taxing authority bears to the total amount paid into the trust fund by all taxing authorities for that year. So you, by law, whatever monies are remaining, and you know, we're supposed to prorate those amount of monies and return it to that taxing authorities, the county and the city. Or you can use it to reduce the amount of any indebtedness to which increment revenues are pledged. We don't have indebtedness, this CRA doesn't. We can deposit it into an escrow account for the purpose of later reducing any indebtedness. We can appropriate to a specific project pursuant to an approved community redevelopment plan, which we have done with the $75,000. We have appropriated that for a 3-year commitment to the CDBG commercial revitalization. So, you know, just to let you know that really these funds need to be spent and or either appropriated by the end of the year, or maybe I can ask Keisha, she can find out when we do our final our CRA budget in November to maybe appropriate at that time. Okay.
That's what I was gonna recommend.
Okay. All right then, and that's all I have for that item on our expense to budget. And then the next item is other items brought forward by CRA board members. And do we have any comments?
No, I think she's wound down.
Yeah, I'm done for today.
Okay, for today, and you mentioned y'all are meeting tomorrow for the
Yes,
job.
HR committee will be meeting tomorrow on the, for the landscape maintenance employee.
Okay, all right. Mr. Magnan, do you have any questions regarding that project you're about to undertake?
Probably a couple, but I feel comfortable where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I'm sure
So,
we'll have more information tomorrow.
yeah, and so now you can understand that we are a little bit different than the commission. Although we are the commission board, we wear a different hat. And that's what they talk about in that you've got to remember, you've got to tell the elected officials they wear a different hat and you spend money in the CRA district. Sometimes you spend more money than you should if there's an incentive to do it. Sometimes you sell less than you should, sometimes you buy higher than you should. But that is what the CRAs sometimes have to do to enhance the community.
I do have a question.
Okay.
The equipment for this new employee, are we ordering it now, or are we gonna wait till it takes time?
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, we don't wanna hire somebody and not have equipment for the work.
Right.
Dustin is working on ordering the truck. He budgeted for a truck out of his budget, and we would sell one of his trucks.
So that's taken
to CRA.
care of.
So that's being handled, but we haven't ordered any other equipment.
Which is a lot easier to get a
Yeah,
hold
the
of.
truck,
Yeah.
yeah, you just get bid and go buy it, yeah, okay.
And I had a little, oh, here we go, here's a little worksheet on that. We had things like a dump trailer, leaf blower, weed eater, chainsaw, gas cans, shovels, rakes, clippers. So, you know, once we know we've got someone, we can do this, and then they're working. Has Dustin ordered his truck?
Not yet, he's working on the financing, but they have a truck and we're negotiating.
Okay, all right. And we budgeted $100,000 to make this change. So, you know, we can negotiate, but not too much.
So the dump trailer, how long would it take to get one of those? Is that something?
I don't think he's getting the dump trailer
Yeah.
anymore. We budgeted for it, but it was too big, he didn't need it.
You don't need it, just to,
He has a dump trailer, and if the CRA needs to use it, or he needs to take it and go pick something up, then they can do that. They'll work hand in hand
that's
together.
good.
That's what I was
Those
saying.
things-
I think the dump trailer was really too big, that's why he needed the bigger size truck, because he didn't have a truck big enough to pull the dump trailer.
That's right.
I think what I meant by a trailer was a trailer to pull the lawnmower.
Lawnmower and equipment
Utility
trailer.
trailer.
Yes, a utility trailer. Let me scratch that dump out, put utility.
Yes, yes.
You may want to dump that utility truck.
But, and that's another thing they talked about, that the cities are not to just abandon the CRA district because there is a CRA district. Cities still have a responsibility in the district, like to pay the street lights and to assist with anything that they can. But it is known that cities don't have the extra money to do the repairs like we just did, like say, a Messer building, that kind of thing, or the playground equipment for Sands Park. So, and we saw some good playground equipment there, Courtney. Did you see that, like recreational style equipment that they could exercise on? Mhm. Some really good equipment that adults use, and that might be something we're interested in the future to go and supplement at Sands Park. Stationary, like stationary.
That would be nice to put around that pond and make that pond into a walking pond. You know, like Carrabelle's got that walk area, and it is great. You know, it's got the lighting at nighttime, so you can feel, you know, fairly safe out there at nighttime. And, you know, we have over here at one of our parks that has, like, you know, the leg things and all, and you can't tear it up, they can't spill it, you know, you might just have to paint it every once in a while. And I think that would be great to put around that park. And that'll make people come out and want to use it more. I'm one of them. I'm trying.
Okay.
You know, right now I'm walking around the chicken coop, but.
She has chickens. And Mr. Magnan, she's way up in the woods up there, about how many, 8 miles or something, 6, 8 miles? And so your chickens, do they roam free or do you? Okay, all right. In town, we like for them to stay.
And I got goats.
We need some chickens, come to my house.
Oh.
We got plenty of
I
them.
just finally got me another rooster. They don't like a turkey.
We got coyotes, chickens.
I don't know coyote now.
You will have them. You got chickens.
Well, I got goats and a miniature donkey and horses, Cather.
Keisha's got an appointment, so she's.
Yeah, she got to go.
Okay. All right. And Keisha got, this is off the topic, way off the topic, for McKissick Beach land management plan. That was approved, and she went on Friday and to the DEP and made a presentation and got that approved, and we can start moving forward with our dune crossover out there. Money from the TDC to construct that.
And I just got a letter saying we were approved.
All right, congratulations. And we'll report that at the commission meeting, okay? All right, so is there anything else then? I'm going to adjourn, is that okay? All right, then, this meeting is adjourned. Y'all have a good afternoon.